would say because I'm just basically only moving a room, you know what I'm saying? It was easier to do it now versus moving a whole entire house and shit. But so I was basically only moving my room, but and there was a lot of stuff they just like, okay, you can have it. Cause I was just gonna move the bed, like the mattress or whatever. I was gonna sleep on the floor or whatever. Like, bro, I was gonna thug it out. But no, they gave me everything. Like they moved everything and they brought the moving truck down. They helped me. We moved we drove to the other place, helped me. But I remember you was still young at that time. You helped too, but I can't remember. You was like I was like 20, so like 20, 19, 18, 17, 15. So you had to be like 15 then.
Yeah, I was just getting in high school or a sophomore in high school. I was
I
young.
remember that's when you started getting your fame too, because you used to come to my house and I used to have you freestyle against people and
And
kill it.
said, boy,
You used to
I
tear their ass up.
rip their heads off.
I used to try to tell them because I was like, bro, I was one of the people too because we conditioned that way. I used to be like, bro, you want to, because all throughout high school, everybody was like, I want to be a rapper. I want to be a rapper. And I used to question myself. I'm like, okay, why the fuck don't I want to be a rapper? I'm like, okay, yeah. Okay, I remember. I ain't good. Like that's what I'm like, I'm not good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but so I used to tell, I'm like, bro, I remember having conversations. I'm like, are you falling into that trap? Or because everybody was like, oh, I'm just gonna be a rapper. Nobody wanted to be nothing else. I'm a rap. But then I started listening to you, and then it started getting time. And I was like, oh no, nah, this nigga good. I was like, so that's when I started getting on to you though. The same way how I get on the Sean now. I was like, hey, bro, like one thing I noticed you're doing. I'm like, think about it. It's double chain gang, right? You like, yeah. I'm like, where they come to record? They gotta come over here. I'm like, yeah, nobody else got nothing. Like they gotta come over here. So I'm like, be mindful of the people who gonna be nice to you because you got the studio and you got the mic now. Because you wasn't. This is the thing about you. Back then, when you started working at Walmart and I was in them jobs back then, like you was all your money invested into a
To
mic.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to try to tell him like, hey, that's cool, but now you need to regulate this shit. I'm like, don't just be letting any and everybody over here because I used to hear you. Because I used to hear y'all rap. Y'all had the door closed. I'm just like, he better than all of them. He just don't know it yet. I'm like, nah, I'll put you aside. And that's the conversation I had with Sean now. I'm like, Sean, like, you got the brains for this shit. Why don't you just do your own thing? Like, just do it there. Like, you could keep doing that, but also do your own thing. And that's what I used to tell you. But I think it finally started to click later on as people started to drop off, or then this person had a problem with it. And it would be crazy. Like, y'all should have problems with stuff. I'm like, ain't even no money involved. That's why I laugh at
Right,
battle rap fools
right.
because they do that shit now. I'm like, bro, y'all ain't signed no contract. Like, what are y'all arguing about? I'm like, it was clout. 'Cause think about
Mhm.
it. Listen, Ronnie, shout out to you. We appreciate you, but you wasn't a good rapper, bro. And I'm gonna tell you, I always tell you, he was not a good rapper. 90 was straight on certain songs, but I used to tell him too. I'm like, bro, you was not a good rapper, bro. Like, no. And I used to tell people that too. When Jason and them was at it, remember Jason and Marquise? And I used to tell them too. I'm like, bro, y'all ain't no good rapper. Nah. You just saying that because he's your brother. I'm like, okay, battle him then. Battle him right now. And they knew that night it
That
was
was
over
crazy
for them.
because I remember I walked in. Keith kind of knew though, because he been around, so I think he knew a little bit. But Jason had never heard me rap before, so I remember I walked in and was bombarded with it. You was like, "Hey, bro, he here now." He was like, "Tear both of them up." And I was
Tear
like,
both of their ass up. Because I
"Okay."
knew they wasn't good. But they wasn't going to listen to me. But I'm like, bro, sometimes you ain't built to be no rapper. And I knew then, I was like, oh, it's over for both of them right here, right now. And I'm just like, so because it was so bad, I remember I was like, okay, hey, bro, just throw me in the rap too. Like, just kill me too. So that, because both was getting tight. Remember, back then my name was Mr. Chubby. Like,
Yeah,
so, and
yeah.
this is how crazy like, I didn't even know the shit I was doing even back then. Like, I could have made money off of being Mr. Chubby back then. Like, bro,
Mr. Chubby off the
everybody,
hats, off of all
everybody,
that.
yeah, the 513 boys.
513 boys, yeah.
Bruh, like cause I always for some reason I took it for granted. Cause I'm like, if you look back in time, like this is not just one or two things. I'm like, bruh, I remember in high school, the towel, I remember going to 513. That hats, the rubber. Remember people walking. They open the door and they were like, I'm like, bro, it was something simple as a rubber band. I'm like, how is
Yeah.
it I could market so all these other things so good, but I couldn't do my own shit that good. But back, I used to be like, for whatever reason, people could try to play me all they want, but when I market something, that shit take off. It is
Fact.
what it is.
That's a fact.
I'm like 513 boy. No, that wasn't a thing. That was it was our fucking address,
It was
bro.
people who didn't even live there,
Didn't
just started
even live
wearing the
there.
hat.
Had
It
the
looked like it was a
hats.
real group, bruh.
That's what really tripped me out. They did not even live
Didn't
there
live there, bruh.
and
Didn't live
had
there.
the 513 boys. And then people be
Yep.
like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, I'm like, "That's our fucking." And the guy, I remember at La Rumba one time, the guy was trying to make it. I was like, "Oh, was you forget your address or something? Like, why you gotta make it into?" He was laughing. I'm like, hey, "You laughing?" But I'm like, people was legit. We didn't have. I didn't have like the foresight. We should have been selling them then. Like we
Yep.
should when we went and got them made that day. We should have got 30 or 40 made that day. Like because it
Bruh.
was legit. Like
I look back on me with music and then you with just how good you market. If we had the mindset that we have
yeah,
now
it'd
back
have been over.
then, we would be in a completely
It'd
different
have been over.
situation.
Especially when you got Mulatto. It would have been over. Like
Facts. Facts. Cause like
you'd have
my
you'd have
mindset
basically been.
now,
I would have basically dressed y'all in all 513 boys gear in the beginning until y'all established y'all own shit. And then that shit, cause you had 11,000 views on Lotto singing back then.
back then, and we weren't even trying. We weren't marketing it. We weren't even
Nothing.
trying. Bro,
Nothing.
that's another story. Just how I said the Cookman story when I realized I was bigger than I thought. When I realized my music was bigger than I thought it was, I was in Walmart. It was somebody who I never really rocked with all through high school. Uh, the girl came up to me and it was on my aisle that I was doing, and I recognized who she was, and of course she recognized me, and I ain't gonna say nothing. And then she was about to leave the aisle, and she was like, "Wait, Trey, is it true that you got your CD coming out on da da da?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be looking out for it," and walked out. And I remember thinking like, "Bruh, if I got ops, knowing when my stuff coming out." I was like, yeah, I'm doing something right. I'm
Yeah, but
doing something right,
that's how we felt when old girl was shading us to Don about
yeah,
about
yeah,
the phone case.
yeah. It's like okay, now we getting attention that
I can't
I didn't
even
realize we would get.
honestly I can't even pinpoint the exact moment when I knew okay, we becoming a big deal in Cressy, but it was I can't but it just started happening so quick where it was like because think about it, when we started, it looked like it was never gonna happen. Like we was
Yeah,
2 years in. Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, bro, the first year and a half, we didn't make shit. Like
nothing.
and then we look back on it, like this design, like now I'm wearing, like we hate this design now. Like we hate it, bro. Like we hate it. We look back and I'm like, bro, I hate that
I
fucking
hate that
design.
design, bro. I
But bro,
hate that design.
people were worried back then. It wasn't like we didn't sell nothing of it because the pictures come up all the. I just don't repost them because I hate that fucking design. But I'm just like, dog, like it's not like we
Yeah,
didn't sell this fucking like. But then it started over time. We kept going, and then it started to be like we would show up places and people, and you looking, and I remember one night when I was out, and this guy, I ain't gonna say people's name and stuff, obviously, but he called me over the table, like, "Hey, Kenny, I want you to meet my friend." And then I told you this story a bunch of times, and the girl's like, "Oh, hey, you know him? That's the guy." And I'm like, "Oh, you know me?" She's like, Yeah, that's the guy that's in all my friends' pictures." And I was just like, "What?" That yeah, it was just
yeah,
like. So even when I was doing that, right? Because obviously when I was hopping in pictures. I was doing that for selfish reasons. I wasn't even doing that like brand reasons. Cause I was like, I was thinking about death. Cause I always feel that I'm always had a twisted mind like that. So I'm like, hey man, if I die today or tomorrow, I want these people, even if they barely knew me, I'm like, I'm hopping in everybody's picture to do a selfie. All right, hey, can you